man, physical media man, physical media man. What'd you buy? Was it something good?
What's up, guys? Physical Media Man back here again for another bonus video. We got December's monthly movie reviews here for you today. We watched quite a few movies during the month, only 3 I believe at the theater. I couldn't remember if I was missing one, but I'm pretty sure I got all the theater movies included on this. So before I get started, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, leave feedback down below. If you haven't done so, make sure to hit that bell. That way you get notified, especially for videos that are bonus videos like this one. I'll leave the links to my Instagram, my Physical Media Man store Instagram, my Facebook page for the Physical Media Man / Physical Media Man store, my eBay page, my email, my Twitter, which I haven't hardly used, my film aficionado, where you can follow along with my collection that's not completely up to date, as well as the movies that I'm after. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. So on December 1st, we watched Office Christmas Party, the unrated version. This is about a company that's on the verge of closing one of their branches, and they have an office Christmas party and try to do some things to help save the company. It's got Jason Bateman, Olivia Munn, T.J. Miller, Jillian Bell, Vanessa Bayer, Courtney Vance, Katie McKinnon, Jennifer Aniston in it. Pretty funny movie. I'm giving it a C+. Enjoyed it, laughed a lot. I thought it could have been better still though, but giving it a C+. I'd recommend checking this one out around Christmas time. Same night, we watched Last Action Hero. This is the Mill Creek release with the retro VHS slipcover. It's about Arnold Schwarzenegger. He plays a movie star, Jack Slater. And this kid gets this special movie ticket, and he goes to watch the premiere of Jack Slater's newest movie, and somehow the ticket has magic in it, and he gets thrown into the movie. And then it goes on from there. This one's pretty enjoyable. I didn't realize at the time, because this is the second time I'd seen it, the bad guy from not Tyrion, Tywin Lannister, the Lannister father from Game of Thrones, is the bad guy in this. But anyways, I thought the Blu-ray transfer was good because last time I watched it on DVD. But I'm giving this one a C+. Cheesy 80s, classic Arnie, but definitely could have been better. Next up, I watched Evil Dead 2. I watched this one by myself. This is written and directed by Sam Raimi. Stars Bruce Campbell, just like the original. This one, they had a better budget, somewhat similar to the first, but it ends a little differently. So I'll talk about that a little bit in the next one. I thought it was better than the first. I thought Bruce Campbell did a better job too. I thought his dialogue was better, and I don't know. I know people love these movies, and a lot of people consider this one the best one. But I just thought it was okay. Of course, I'm not the biggest scary movie fan, so I'm giving it a B-. Next up, I watched the last of the Evil Dead movies. We got Army of Darkness. Same thing, same Raimi, starring Bruce Campbell. This leaves off with the end of the second one, which I won't spoil in case you haven't seen it for some reason. I mean, it took me a while to watch them. But this one's, it seemed like more of a film. There's a lot more dialogue. I thought Bruce Campbell was really good in this one. Funny parts, it was more of a movie than a scary movie, I guess. So maybe that's why I enjoyed it more. I'm giving this one a B. So, yeah. Next up, I don't have the case because I don't have all my movies in cases. Some of them I have in like a binder case. I'm in the process of getting those all out of there and put back in their original cases. But there for a while, I had them all on binder cases. So we watched Elf. It's about this boy that his parents gave him up, and he's found by these elves. So he lives in the North Pole with Santa and the elves, and he thinks he's an elf, and then he finds out he has a father that's not the elf father that's been his father. So he tries to go to New York to find him, and he finds him, and it's just about that. Really great Christmas movie. I'm giving it a B. Next up, we watched a Whoopi Goldberg movie. We got A Night in Camelot, starring Whoopi. This is a Disney movie. She is a scientist of some sort, and she invents this thing, and she gets thrown into medieval times with Camelot and King Arthur and all that. And she can't figure out how to get back to begin with, but she tries to do things to help. She acts like she's a wizard because she knows all the stuff from the future, as well as she's a scientist, so she's able to do certain things that haven't been discovered yet. So she just tries to help that community and everything. Enjoyed it, but giving it a C+. Next up, we watched our very first 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray. Really enjoyed this one. We got Christopher Nolan's Dunkirk, mainly starring Tom Hardy and the guy from Bridge of Spies with Tom Hanks. But anyways, beautifully shot, looked amazing on 4K. I highly recommend picking this one up on 4K if you have a 4K player / TV. Not the longest of movies, it's 106 minutes. It's intense, not a ton of dialogue, but really enjoyed it, and I'm giving it an A-. It looked awesome on 4K. Next up, we watched another 4K, which I'm showing the Blu-ray because it was my buddy's copy. We watched Rampage, which is based on the video game. The Rock plays a primatologist, so he studies primates. And something gets into their zoo area, and it makes the gorilla huge. And then they notice something else has happened to other animals. So the Rock tries to help. Don't really know how to explain it because it's kind of bizarre for what the premise is from a video game, and it was enjoyable. I mean, it's The Rock. A lot of his crazy movies recently, are not crazy, but just, I don't know. Not amazing films, but very enjoyable. I mean, he's an enjoyable actor, so he usually does a great job. But they're just kind of throwaway movies. I don't know. But I'm giving it a, where is it at? C+. I passed over a couple here. We also went and watched Creed 2, which left off from the first Creed, and it has Apollo Creed's son fighting Ivan Drago's son. Very good film, very well done. I think I liked it better than the first Creed movie, actually. I'm giving it an A-. Really enjoyed it. Still not as good as the original Rocky, or probably even Rocky 2, 3, 4. But anyways, enjoyed it, giving it an A-. Okay, so next up we watched Rock and Roll High School. I didn't really know too much about this, but I swore I had heard about it on a podcast. So I went ahead and picked it up, and we watched this one and really enjoyed it. So it's about this high school where a couple students really love the Ramones and rock music. So they're playing it, and they have this new principal, and she like tries to suspend them, and she goes into this whole uproar over the rock music. Then they try to go get tickets for the Ramones show. They're in town, and it's just them trying to get back at the principal. I don't really know how to explain it other than that. It actually has the real Ramones in this movie. Some of their acting's not the best, but they perform, and it's good. I highly recommend this one. It's a comedy kind of similar to Rock and Roll High School or Rock and Roll High or whatever that John Lovitz movie is, and some other films like that. I'm giving it a B. I enjoyed it. Next up is another Whoopi. We watched 2 Whoopi movies in the month of December. We got Karina with her and Ray Liotta. It's about this father who has a daughter, and his wife suddenly passes away, and it's just about him and his daughter both trying to deal with it and move on, and they also need help. So Whoopi Goldberg is hired as a nanny of sorts. Don't know what else to say without ruining anything, but this is somewhat of a tearjerker type movie, but I did enjoy it. I thought the acting was very good, but I'm giving it a B-. Thought it could have been somewhat better, but enjoyed it for sure. Next up, we're getting closer to Christmas, so we watched Miracle on 34th Street. This is the remake. I've not seen the original, so that might have swayed my rating if I had, but this is a John Hughes production. You can tell just something about his movies are somewhat charming, or they just make you feel good. I don't know. But it's got Richard Attenborough, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, who was famously John Hammond from Jurassic Park. It also has Elizabeth Perkins, the girl from Matilda, and a couple other people. And it's not directed by John Hughes, but it's screenplay by him and produced by him, I think. So really enjoyed it. A great Christmas movie. I'll have to check out the original, but I definitely enjoyed this one. Wouldn't mind watching it again. Giving it a B. Next up, we watched another Christmas movie. We got It's a Wonderful Life. This is Frank Capra's movie, produced and directed by him. Also screenplay by him and 2 other individuals, starring Jimmy Stewart. It's about this guy who his father owned a savings and loans, somewhat of a bank type of thing, but instead of charging high interest rates and doing all this stuff to make a whole bunch of money, he did whatever he could to help people have great lives and not benefit himself as much. His brother, so Jimmy Stewart, his character always dreamt of going off and visiting all these other places and doing all these things and going on adventures. But he has to go off to war, I believe. Then he comes back. He's going to try to go to college and then go on these adventures. And his dad gets sick. So he ends up having to take over the bank. And it's just about that. And he's always without going too much in detail and ruining any more, he does all these things and sacrifices his what he wants to do in his life for the benefit of his town and his brother, and allowing them to live the life that they want to live. And he doesn't realize how well he really does have it. I thought this movie was great. It's the first time I'd watched it. I've heard it was great and just hadn't ever done it. I really enjoyed it though, and I'm giving it an A+. That's probably the first A+ I've given, but I think the rewatchability. I mean, this movie came out in 1946, and I mean, you could tell it's an old movie, but it still holds up. I thought it was great, so highly recommend that one if you've never seen it. Next up, we watched Frozen, which is about this princess and her daughter, or not daughter, her princess and her sister, and this princess has a power where she can like shoot ice out of her hands and freeze things, but it's dangerous, and she doesn't have complete control of it, and something happens, and her parents have died, so then she's next in line, and she's nervous about this power she has, and it's just about them coming together and figuring it out. So I know a lot of people have been annoyed with the music, or not really annoyed with it, but I know a lot of people have said that their children, they want to watch it all the time, so then they get burnt out on it. So, I mean, this is the first time we had watched it, so I expected it to be like more annoying or not as good as it was. We both enjoyed this one, so I'm giving it a B. Okay. Next up, I think the same night we watched Christmas Carol. This is not the original, but it's one of the most well-known ones. Starring Alistair Sim. Sorry if I said that wrong. This is like a British version almost. It's in black and white. There's also, I think, the colored versions you could watch if you wanted. He plays Scrooge. And of course the Charles Dickens story. If you haven't seen any of the Scrooge type stuff, I mean, you're missing out. But it's about, he's like hates Christmas, and he gets visited by 3 ghosts that kind of change his outlook on the way he handles life and everything. So if you haven't seen it, I recommend it. I think I gave it a, let's see here. Gave it a B-. I thought the beginning was kind of boring, but the end was awesome. I thought he did a really good job at the end. But I just have to rewatch it, and maybe I'll like it better the next time. I don't know. Next up, we watched The Santa Claus, which I remember when it came out, so which is kind of cool. So it's starring Tim Allen. He is divorced from his wife, who is now dating Judge Reinhold's character, who is like a some sort of doctor, psychiatrist, I think. Tim Allen's character works for like a toy company or something like that. Anyways, he has his son over since they have joint custody, Christmas Eve, and Santa Claus falls off his roof, and he ends up having to be the Santa Claus and starts turning into the Santa Claus, gains all this weight, just it happens automatically, and starts growing a beard like Santa and everything. And no one believes that he's Santa Claus, so it's just about that basically. But always enjoy this one, giving it a B. Next up, on Christmas Day or night after we had our Christmas, my parents and my wife and I went and watched Vice, which stars Christian Bale as Dick Cheney, Sam Rockwell as George W. Bush, and Amy Adams as whatever Cheney's wife's name is. Can't think of it. Anyways, it's about, just follows Dick Cheney's life, and mostly like from when he becomes vice president on. There is stuff before that. I thought the acting was amazing. Of all those actors, mainly Christian Bale, I thought he was amazing in this movie. He should probably get Best Actor. I don't know. I thought he did a great job. I just thought the story, which, I mean, it's hard to complain about the story when it's supposed to be real life, but maybe it was just the pacing. I just thought it was going to be better than it was, but I enjoyed it. I'm giving it a C+ though, because I thought there was a lot of things that could have been better about it. I was kind of disappointed, but the acting is phenomenal in it. Next up, I don't have the case for this one either. We watched Home Alone on Christmas night. Usually always watch Home Alone on either Christmas Eve or Christmas night. One of my favorite movies of all time. It's about, of course, kid gets left home, and these 2 robbers try to break into the house, and he tries to stop them. If you haven't seen it, can't believe you haven't seen it. But it's just a classic movie. I don't think there's anything that's done wrong in it. The whole movie is fantastic. I'm giving it an A+. It's one of my favorite movies ever. It never gets old too. You always laugh every year, doesn't matter. But yeah, I watch it at least once a year and I never get old. Next up, we watched Ocean's 8, which kind of follows Ocean 13 with George Clooney and all those guys. But this is an all-female cast, basically. We got Sandra Bullock, Kate Blanchett, Anne Hathaway, Mindy Kaling, Sarah Paulson. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that one. Rihanna and Helen Bonham Carter. So Sandra Bullock is supposed to be the sister of George Clooney, and there's something that happened to her that put her in prison. So she gets out of prison, and she decides to do this one heist, and gets this group of girls together to help her with it. And I won't go into much detail other than that. I would recommend not to think of this as an Ocean's movie. It does acknowledge the other Ocean's movies, or at least the characters, and she is an ocean. So, I mean, I would think of it as an Ocean's movie, but don't think of it as like one of the main ones. I would almost recommend just thinking of it as like a heist movie, somewhat similar to, like, if you think of Halloween 3 as like a Halloween movie, it's not going to be as good as it should be, because that movie's really good. Same thing with this. I was pleasantly surprised, thought it was really good. But if you think of it as one of the other Ocean's movies, you might not like it as well. But I'm giving it a B-. I enjoyed it. And then we watched Ghost in the Shell, starring Scarlett Johansson. This is based on an anime, which I have not seen, so people might not like that because of that reason. This might not live up to that or the story. Don't really know how to explain it, so I'm going to read this one. Okay. So it's an action-packed adventure set in a future world where people are enhanced with technology. Believing she was rescued from near-death, Major, played by Scarlett Johansson, becomes the first of her kind, a human mind inside an artificial body designed to fight the war against cybercrime. While investigating a dangerous criminal, Major makes a shocking discovery. The corporation that created her lied about her past life in order to control her. Unsure what to believe, Major will stop at nothing to unravel the mystery of her true identity and exact revenge against the corporation she was built to serve. Packed with heart-pounding excitement, it's the movie critics are calling a classic in the making. So it's somewhat like a combination of like Blade Runner and Fifth Element and movies like that. But I thought this was a lot better than I anticipated it being. I thought ScarJo was a great choice for the character she played. I thought she did a very good job. I also thought the supporting cast was good at their roles too. So this might seem low for how I'm talking about it, but I'm giving it a C+, and I would recommend it. And it was really cool to watch on 4K. So. And then lastly, I don't know where in the month we watched it, but we also went and watched The Mule in the movie theater, starring Clint Eastwood, based on a true story about an older gentleman who he had like a greenhouse type of thing, or he sold flowers, and with the technology, his business goes bankrupt, and he has all these family problems. And he's good at driving, so he ends up being a mule where he drives illegal drugs for the cartel from one place to another. It's starring and directed by Clint Eastwood. Might be his last movie. I mean, he's 88 years old. I thought it was good. Giving it a C+. Thought it could have been better. Again, the pacing kind of seemed weird on it. Thought it could have been done better, but I did enjoy it, so I would recommend checking it out. So that's everything we watched in December. Let me know. Again, I only do these once a month, so let me know how I'm doing on these. If you have any suggestions or tips or anything like that, let me know. If you have any recommendations on movies I should watch, let me know. and I'll try my best to check those out. We have so much to watch. So, anyways, that's Physical Media Man signing off. Physical media will never die.
Physical Media Man. Physical Media Man. Physical Media Man.